Oh, we are back and it feels good. We are going to go through and check out some 2023 Dynasty teams here. Try to come up with some strategy, try to come up with some trades for these specific league formats. We have a couple guys that have been a member of the flock for way too long now, but going to get into this right after I let you know, these are all members of flockfantasy.com. If you want to join flockfantasy.com, it is not too late. You can still get 30% off with promo code FLOCK, and the Mother Flocker package as well. That's how you get your team broken down in a personalized podcast by yours truly. You can either get that personalized and sent to you through DM or put on YouTube, whatever you're wanting, my friend. But I think that should be it. Of course, you can find the link to that in both the description as well as the comment section. Let's go ahead and let's dive into Dabigan's team, someone who has been a member of the flock for an unbelievable amount of time. I'm telling you, he has been a member of the flock for years now. Says, hey, Mason, 12-team Superflex on a flock community league. Yeah, Zach hosts some flock community leagues that I think a lot of people like. But let me know what you think we should do with this team. Just won the ship. Should we still go for the win now approach? PPR scoring half point tight end premium. You are welcome to use on YouTube. Thanks. Now, thank you, my friend. And good thing is, if this is a flock community league, nobody should watch this live stream. Nobody should watch this video. Nobody should hear what we have to say. So let's go ahead and let's pull this up. Starting off with the league settings, you're going to notice in a lot of flock community leagues, we go deep, okay? I mean, a pretty good spot to be in my mind to build around wide receiver. So you're going to be starting one quarterback. You're going to have one super flex as well. We have 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and 3 flex spots. So I'm no mathematician, but tells us we have 11 guys in this starting lineup. That tells us in a 12-team league where we're starting 11 players, we have 132 players to start on a week-to-week basis. That's completely different than your mom's 10-team league where you're starting 8 guys and you're only having to start 80 players across the entire league. Here, depth is king. Depth matters a ton. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me say over and over again in a lot of these breakdowns, you know what? I'm going to be trading the 2 pieces to just get the best player available. The only thing we care about is upside, 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 screw depth. Nope, that's not the case here. Here, depth is actually very important. Looking at quarterback, we are going to have both Kenny Pickett as well as Jared Goff. I'm pretty glad we have some other players. We have Derek Carr down there on the bench. I mean, looking at the tax squad, looking at the IR, we don't really have anything. If we're looking at our rookie picks, not too much to work with either with the quarterback front. So definitely the quarterback position, we are not in a good spot in general. I am fine with Jared Goff as a quarterback 2. I am fine with Derek Carr as quarterback 3. But in general, what we are wanting to see, if we have those guys as our QB2, QB3, is that elite level player at the top. Give me Jalen Hurts, give me Josh Allen, give me Patrick Mahomes, give me Joe Burrow, give me someone that is in a true tier gap of everybody else so we can feel comfortable about our quarterback scoring output overall. Kenny Pickett ain't that guy. I mean, maybe he is, and maybe long, probably not. So I think that if we are just looking at this quarterback room, definitely below average. But you notice this team won it all last year. So you're wondering, how did this team win it all last year if we are rolling with Pickett, Jared Goff, and Derek Carr at quarterback? When you're starting 11 total guys, I mean, you don't necessarily need to worry too much about just having 2 elite level quarterbacks because you can make up for it if you have depth at wide receiver. The quarterback position will account for a lower percentage of your starting lineup output on a week-to-week basis if you're starting 11 guys versus if you were starting 8. We wrote about that in our Dynasty research book. Going over to running back, we have Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs in the starting lineup, James Cook down there in the flex spot, a Rashad Penny on the bench. So in general, I mean, we're in a fine spot at running back. I think Jacobs could easily be a running back 1 overall again this upcoming season. Of course, this past year, he was the #1 overall running back, aka why we won this league. I think Joe Mixon could easily be a running back 2. James Cook is clearly a nice depth piece. Rashad Penny could even make a difference with how deep this league is. So I'm fine with where we currently sit at RB. Wide receiver is how I personally like to build my team in these formats. If we can start up to 6 wide receivers on a week-to-week basis and it's a full PPR league, give me as many of these guys as I possibly get. I mean, I want the top end players. I want the depth guys. I want everything in between. Here we have CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson in the starting lineup. This is the perfect example of a league where y'all know you're tired of hearing me say in those shallow leagues, Terry McLaurin doesn't matter. Deontay Johnson doesn't matter. We'll sell them in a package. You get an upgrade somewhere else. No, in this kind of format, having a bunch of guys that look like Terry McLaurin and Deontay Johnson on your team's pretty good thing. Down there on the bench, we have Michael Thomas. We have, KJ Hamler, someone I once thought was going to be something, but in reality, we don't have too much depth there. Tight end, we have Dawson Knox. We have Trey McBride. In general, I'm kind of fine. I don't want to say full-blown punting the tight end position here, but not having that elite level tight end because inherently they're going to be accounting for a lower percentage of your starting lineup output on a week-to-week basis if you're having to start 11 players in general, even if you are getting the 1.5 points per reception there. But let's go over and let's look at what we have with these rookie picks because we actually have a couple pieces to play around with. We have Zach's 110. We have our own 112. We have JN's 207. We have the 212, 312. Obviously, we won this league, so, we are sitting pretty. Because we have these rookie picks, I think that this is a team that we still have a chance to make a difference this upcoming season. The probability we have a quarterback that we like, a.k.a. Will Levis, falling to us at pick 10, pick 12, slim to none, especially not in a flock community league. It's not happening. With pick 10, with pick 12, if we could go through and package one of those picks with one of these quarterbacks and get an upgrade in the starting lineup, I would really like that. Like we said, in general, we don't necessarily want to be going out of our way and making too many 2-for-1 deals in a league where depth is kind of king. But if we're able to go through and say, sell Derek Carr and that 110, and we're able to go get Tua, we're able to go get Anthony Richardson, we're able to go get Daniel Jones, we're able to go get one of the rookie picks in Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. I would love to make a move like that. Of course, easier said than done, but in a deep league like this, you could see someone really needing that depth piece, and the 110 is a quality pick to have. If you're looking at pick 10, that's Zach Charbonnet, that's Quentin Johnson, that's Jordan Addison, that's one of those guys making it to you there, especially if, Zay Flowers slides up boards and we're able to actually see some value fall back towards us. You may have a choice between those guys at pick 10. So while it's not guaranteed, we could go ahead and we could try to make a move like that. Pick 12, right now, I would say you're kind of hoping Zay Flowers makes it. You're hoping one of those guys we previously talked about makes it. In reality, they probably don't. I think it's a long shot to assume that will happen. Of course, a man can always hope. A man can always send up a prayer. Now, I think that if we were looking at pick 12 in general, that would also be a pick that I am trying to sell if we want to contend this upcoming season. If we could go back to that quarterback deal that we already discussed, and instead of selling pick 10, if we can sell pick 12 instead, I would love it. But of course, we could always start with 12, and if that gets rejected, then move to pick 10 when we try to go through and make that deal. If we have to stick and pick 12, I think we just really send up a prayer that one of those top 11 guys falls to us, because if they don't, then we are in a crappy situation. 207, 212, 312, 412. In reality, you're not going to have too much that we can be looking at here. I would say 207, we're going to be looking at some players that maybe you're excited about if they find a good landing spot. Like maybe you get Josh Downs, Roshan Johnson, Devin Achane, Dalton Kincaid. Maybe you go for the upside and someone like Hendon Hooker if somehow he's able to be an NFL starting quarterback with his rushing upside. But in general, I think that this is a team that, while on the surface, I know a lot of people are going to say that it can't compete this next season. I think in reality, you may have a chance to run it back. Of course, a lot hinges on what we are going to be getting from those running backs. If A.J. Brown can repeat what he did this past season, and if we have a chance to run it back, I don't mind the idea of selling those late first and second round picks to go get both upgrades in the short term as well as the long term. I don't want to be trading for pieces that are just exclusively options for 2023. I definitely want to make sure that we are getting some long-term pieces. That's why we're talking about a quarterback upgrade in particular. That way, once we get to the season, if we don't like the direction that we're going in, we can always make a pivot to 2024 if we need to. But in general, I think that we probably just sit on our hands for now, reevaluate where this team is in week 3, where this team is in week 4. And if we're sitting in week 4 and we're 1-3 and we've had a serious injury to AJ Brown, then at that point, we'll probably know, okay, crap, we need to play for 2024. We should probably tear it down. Let's sell Joe Mixon. Let's sell Josh Jacobs. Let's sell Chris Godwin. Let's sell Terry McLaurin. But there's no reason to be making a move like that in April when this team still has the possibility of contending this next season. But again, thank you so much, my man, for being a long-time member of the flock for us. And as always, if there's anything that I can do for you, especially if there's any way that I can improve flockfantasy.com, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Let me know. I'd be super happy to see if I can get it done. But let's go ahead and let's dive into our next team here. This one going to be coming out from Fantasy Ant. Says, hey, Mason, thanks for all the work and time you put in for fantasy football and building an awesome community of fantasy flockers. A 10-team full PPR league where we're starting 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 3 flex. Needed help at wide receiver. We traded JT the 102 for AJ Brown, Deontay Johnson, and Zeke. I am sorry, my friend. I really don't like this trade. In general, if we are going to be looking at JT versus AJ Brown, if you like AJ Brown more than Jonathan Taylor, sure, that's your personal preference. You can be fine with, I can be fine with it, right? I'm not going to sit here and scream at you that you need to have JT over AJ Brown. If I look at the overall rankings from all the analysts on flockfantasy.com, right now, AJ Brown's ranked 15 in our Superflex overall rankings. Jonathan Taylor's ranked at 20. If you're going to look at my rankings in particular, I think we have these guys in a little bit of a different range. I actually have Jonathan Taylor 20 and I have AJ Brown 16. So we have these guys very similar, but regardless, if we were going out there making a move like that, I do think that they're in a similar tier. And if we are trading the 102 for Deontay Johnson and Ezekiel Elliott, we are just getting smashed there. That 102, if we really needed a wide receiver in a 10-team league, hell, we can go through, we can take Jackson Smith and Jigba. That is 100% a possibility. Yeah, so I don't love the idea of going through and trading JT for AJ Brown, staying in the same tier, but then overpaying on the other end from the 102 to Deontay and Zeke. Now, the other deal is Calvin Ridley in the 203 for David Montgomery. I would honestly probably rather have Calvin Ridley there as well. I don't understand that one either if we really needed a wide receiver. Hopefully I'm reading these wrong. But let's go ahead and let's pull up this team. This is going to be a very shallow format. In general, it's a 10-team league where we're going to go through and we are going to be starting a total of 9 guys. So y'all know we just got done talking about that other league where you're starting 132 total players across the entire league. Here you're starting 90 total players across the entire league. So what I'm primarily going to be focusing in on, rather than just building out wide receiver depth after wide receiver depth after wide receiver depth, let's load some studs onto this team. So quarterback, we have Jalen Hurts. What I do like about the AJ Brown deal, now that I'll say, I would definitely rather have AJ Brown on this team than Jonathan Taylor. Still don't like the deal because I think we paid too much with the 102. But knowing that we were able to stack AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Hurts together, I think that makes it significantly better, and I completely understand why you were so gung-ho going out there and getting AJ Brown and why you needed to have him, because it just makes so much sense to make that one consolidated bet on the Philadelphia Eagles offense. I will say my first time ever winning a fantasy football league was the Chip Kelly, Nick Foles, LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin year. I pretty much stacked the entire Eagles offense, so maybe I'm a little bit biased here. Maybe we have some good memories coming back to us, but regardless, I understand why we went out there and traded for AJ Brown. Now, I definitely do like having that quarterback stack. Love having Jalen Hurts. I don't think we need to talk about that. The man's a top 3 quarterback in fantasy easily. Down there in the bench, we have Daniel Jones, Jordan Love, Mac Jones. The bench is large enough where I feel comfortable having 4 QBs here. In a lot of 1 quarterback formats, I feel like a lot of people go too heavy on rostering QBs where they'll have shallow benches and they'll be like rostering 4 quarterbacks and like, what are we doing? Here, bench is deep enough where I think we can get away with rostering 4. Running back, we have Breece Hall, Travis Etienne. So we have a couple top 5 running backs in Dynasty. I actually really like DeAndre Swift here as the RB3 flex option. depth piece. I mean, if you're looking at Swift, especially if we have David Montgomery, I mean, I really don't understand the David Montgomery trade if we already had DeAndre Swift and we're acquiring Montgomery as RB4. This is a great team. We have Tyler Algier here as well. This is a team that has a lot of running back depth, almost the exact opposite of what we were talking about with the team previous to this, given the fact that it's a shallower format in general. This is where I want to go out there and I want to pay up for tight end. This is where I would really like going through and trying to trade Cole Kmet and one of these running backs. Trading Cole Kmet and David Montgomery. Trading Cole Kmet and Tyler Algier. And going out there and getting a tight end that we can be a little more excited about. Going out there and getting a player like Dallas Goedert. I don't even mean to bring that up because the Philadelphia Eagles passing offense, of course, I don't know how much Philadelphia we want on this team, but just a tight end that is going to be significantly better because with this running back depth, I mean, we are so loaded up that I'm not worried about ever finding, I mean, just having to jam in a nasty option in the starting lineup. And at the same time, I mean, going back to what we were discussing previously, the smaller your starting lineup, the higher percentage of that lineup the tight end position is going to account for, aka the larger their impact will be on your expected win rate this next season if you have that elite level player. So I would like trading some running back production here. Of course, don't go overpay it, especially when we have like 5 months until the season. You have all the time in the world. Possibly go package a running back with Cole Kmet, go get that upgrade at tight end. Wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, beautiful. Christian Watson down there in the flex spot. Deontay Johnson going down a little bit deeper. I mean, we have depth guys such as Juju, Gabriel Davis, completely fine where we stand at wide receiver. Tight end, Kmet, Dalton Schultz, Noah Fant, Dawson Knox. So we have a lot of depth, and if this was a best ball format, I would definitely feel very excited about this tight end room in general. The issue is, I mean, when are we going to start these guys? Like, how do we know when it's going to be a Cole Kmet week? How do we know when it's going to be a Dawson Knox week? How do we know when it's going to be a Dalton Schultz week? So, I mean, I would rather just go through and make that 2-for-1 deal. And especially like when we were talking about going through and trading like David Montgomery and Cole Kmet to go get that tight end upgrade. In my mind, Cole Kmet, Dawson Knox, Dalton Schultz, they're all kind of comparable. They're all about the same. So I just go through and approach every owner and say, hey, man, choose your favorite out of these three. Give them the option. I mean, at that point, I think that you would have a better shot at getting a deal like that done, which makes a lot of sense for this roster in particular. But to be honest with you, my friend, I mean, I don't love the trades that you made. I kind of understand why we did the A.J. Brown one. While I don't like the trades that you made in particular, I do think that it is a very exciting team. I think it's a very good team that's going to be a contender this next season. I mean, if you're saying that the only pick we have left is the 403 this year, essentially count yourself out of the rookie draft, okay? I mean, if you get the opportunity to trade back in at a reasonable price point, then sure, we go ahead and do it. But here you're talking about going through and trading up to the 102 so we can take Jackson Smith and Jigba. I would say, I guess here that I have, I don't know if I'm right in this guess, but is you lost your chance for JSN, my friend. If you really wanted JSN, we shouldn't have traded away the 102 to begin with. The cost for you to trade from the 403 to the 102, I think you're going to have a very difficult time getting that done. But yeah, thank you again for everything. And going over to our next team, this is going to be coming out from John Stamos. Thank you, my man, for being a member of the vlog. Says, feel free to use on YouTube, Team La Flama Blanca format, 12-team Dynasty, 1 quarterback, full PPR, 6 point per passing touchdown. Love the channel, brother. Just wondering what moves I should be looking to make to go for the championship this year. Leaning on taking Gibbs to the 103, assuming Bijan and JSN go 1-2. I would definitely say that's the expectation that everybody should have, is going ahead and just loading in Jahmyr Gibbs at 3 in that 1 quarterback format. Let's go ahead and let's pull this up. As I pull this up, I think we had a question in the live chat from Cameron. It says, hey, Mason, where exactly would I post my team to have a chance for you to look at it? New to a live stream. Thanks for everything. Okay, so yeah, real quick, flockfantasy.com, sign up, promo code FLOCK, Mother Flocker package. Join the Discord once you sign up, and then once you follow the instructions with the Discord, should be super simple. You can find the link in the comment section and in the description. But don't want to waste too much time on that. Let's go over to this team. And starting off right away, I mean, hell yes, the quarterback, we're in a good spot. Sitting with Josh Allen. Now, of course, 1 quarterback format. We don't need to be sitting out here and say, oh, okay, Josh Allen, the 2nd overall player in Dynasty, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not super flex, but still, you, regardless of the format, bringing in a player like Josh Allen, you are going to be very happy with your current situation. Going down to the bench, I mean, we're going to be sitting with a Baker Mayfield, Kenny Pickett. I mean, I don't really feel like we need to talk about that too much. We have Josh Allen. Start Josh Allen every single week, pretty much regardless of what happens outside of the one bye week or an injury. But what's really nice is in a one quarterback format, we don't really need to worry about our backup QB because worst case scenario, if our starting quarterback goes down, then we can go ahead, we can make a trade and acquire a quarterback at an extremely cheap price point, almost regardless. Now, going over to running back, we are going to be sitting with Kenneth Walker and Tony Pollard. Now, if you're going to be looking at Kenneth Walker, top 5 dynasty running back in my mind easily. He's a great prospect coming out of school. I mean, it was even better than I thought his rookie season. He was my second most drafted player on Underdog last year at the running back position, but he was even better than we thought he was going to be. Caught the ball way more. Tony Pollard, phenomenal this past season. Obviously, you have no Ezekiel Elliott. Expectations are that he's a top 12 running back this year. I will say definitely with Pollard, I feel like he is 100% a win now asset. Like, if we were looking for the long-term play, I'm not necessarily looking to build around Tony Pollard. I'd more so be looking at Tony Pollard for 2023 in particular, but I don't necessarily think that we need to talk about that too much just because his team's ready to compete this season. Like, you want a piece like Pollard on here, even if we're uncertain about the long-term outlook. Now, going over to wide receiver, we just have young, productive player after young, productive player after young, productive player. So it just gives us so much flexibility in what we're able to do, not only for our plans in 2023, but beyond as well. This is the prototypical mold of a dynasty team where you did everything you set out to accomplish. You built the roster. Now we just sit back, we collect our dividends, we collect our winnings every single year because we have Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 1 this season, and the man's 22 years old. We have Devonta Smith, probably a wide receiver 1 this season. He's going into year 3. We have DK Metcalf, maybe a wide receiver 1 this season, definitely a high-end wide receiver 2. The man was drafted in 2019. We have Christian Watson, a wide receiver 2, and he was drafted last year. Brandon Ayuk, the man drafted in 2020, and probably a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. We have wide receiver production out the ass. I mean, we are in a phenomenal spot there. I will say in general, I think that I've seen a decent amount of people be higher on Brandon Ayuk than I have been. I mean, I made the side comment the other day that I would much prefer Christian Watson over Brandon Ayuk in Dynasty by a few rounds. And people hated the fact that I said that. People are like, oh my gosh, Mason, you're way too low on Brandon Ayuk. And I'll say, people think Ayuk is, I mean, a lock to be a top 15, 20-ish wide receiver. I'm probably going to be selling him at that price point, definitely. But let's go ahead and let's dive into tight ends. I don't necessarily know if we have to say anything. We have Kyle Pitts. We have the tight end 1 overall in Dynasty. Definitely someone that we're not expecting the elite level production from immediately. But with Kyle Pitts, someone that you are going to get enough production from this upcoming season. He'll most likely be a mid tight end 1 in fantasy. And then obviously in the long term, as the situation could pretty much only get better from where it currently is, you could assume that Kyle Pitts at one point of his NFL career is the tight end 1 overall in fantasy. Now going down to the rookie draft, I'm so sorry, my friend. I know this is going to be a horrible podcast because there's just not much to say. 103, like you were already mentioning, we're going to go ahead. We are going to take Jahmyr Gibbs. If we see how Jahmyr Gibbs fits on this roster, I mean, not only does it make a lot of sense from just the best player available standpoint, where, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, in my mind, is definitely best player available at 3 in that one quarterback format, ahead of Zach Charbonnet, ahead of Jordan Addison, ahead of Quentin Johnston. But to go along with this, with Jahmyr Gibbs, makes sense adding another running back here. We have Kenneth Walker. We have Tony Pollard. I mean, we have David Montgomery. We have James Cook, if you really wanted to be in on one of those guys as your RB3. But I mean, this team could definitely use Jahmyr Gibbs coming in as the running back 3, providing some depth with upside. I mean, you could even immediately see Jahmyr Gibbs going into the flex spot by, say, week 3, week 4. I mean, he kind of fits the same mold of the rest of this roster. Young and productive. Young and productive. Young and productive. You're seeing that top to bottom, pretty much every single position here. So when you have that mold, it's kind of the most difficult thing to do in Dynasty, but at the same time, it's kind of the easiest thing to do in Dynasty. What we need to be doing is sitting on our hands. You've already done it. Everything there is to do, we've already done. If we really wanted to go through and maybe nitpick the team a little bit, we could say, okay, well, let's go get some correlation in the starting lineup. If we're betting on Josh Allen at quarterback, let's go ahead and let's bring in one of his pass catchers. Let's bring in Stephon Diggs and make that one consolidated bet, blah, blah, blah. I don't necessarily think that we have to do that. I think that we are in a fine spot almost regardless. Now, thank you again so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock. I wish I had more to say. I truly do. But I don't. I mean, maybe we can just say, oh, see what we can get for Brandon Ayuk through trade. If it's ridiculous, let's sell him. Let's take Jahmyr Gibbs to the 103, which we were already planning on doing. But I think that's it. Thank you again so much for everything, my man. I really appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day. And yeah, if there's anything I can ever do for you, let me know. I'm so sorry for this being a crappy podcast and having nothing to say, but that's like the literal perfect Dynasty team. But I think that should probably be it for this live stream. I know it was a little bit of a shorter stream, so we'll definitely get another one going tomorrow or the next day, breaking down some more of these teams. I mean, we are breaking down these teams through personalized podcasts all day, but I am sweating in here. The AC's off. The jacket is on. So yeah, you can see that I'm sweating on camera. But thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with us. I truly do appreciate you. And as always, if you want to get your team broken down, flockfantasy.com, promo code FLOCK, link in the description, link in the comment section. Thank you so much. I really hope that you have a great night. Really hope that we get to see you with the video tomorrow morning. And yeah, thank you for everything.